Hey Bewitchlings, Tiffany here on Bewitching.Bemused if you don't already know me. Today we are going to be covering a self-love spell. It is a pretty in-depth one, so I'm excited. This is also probably the #1 request that I get for spell videos, but this video in particular is going to be dedicated to Natalie Westwood, who requested it most recently, and who made me go, you know what, screw my idea for the other video for this week. Let's do this one. I previously did a self-empowerment jar spell, so if you're interested in that one, I will link it down below. And while the two are similar and they work excellently in conjunction, self-empowerment and self-love are not exactly the same thing. Also, I know that spell videos can be a little bit difficult to follow at times, so if you are looking for a more comprehensive guide, one that you can easily just scroll up and down, the article will also be posted on my website at the same time this video is published. The link is down below. Before we begin, a couple of warnings. Like I already mentioned, this is a pretty in-depth spell. It is not a simple, incantation, list of ingredients, list of instructions, you're done, wham bam, thank you ma'am. You are not looking to have a one-night stand with yourself. You are looking to build a healthy, loving relationship with yourself, and that is what this spell is for, so there is a little bit more work involved. If you're looking for something simple, hey, I totally get it, but this might not be the video for you. This video is going to detail the magical process that combines the magical, the mundane, and the ongoing work that is required for true and long-term self-love. But do keep in mind, obviously there's many more methods aside from this. I just wanted to give a couple of pointers because I think it's useful to give ongoing work as opposed to just, here's a spell. You want to keep that spell alive by continuing to invest time and effort into it and into yourself. Also, keep in mind that this is not a self-improvement spell. This is a self-acceptance spell. You are not doing this in an effort to change yourself. You are doing it in an effort to change the way that you feel about and view yourself. My final warning is that if you are in a truly dark place in your relationship with yourself, I highly encourage you that in addition to this spell, you perhaps seek out some professional help. Magic can never replace true medical help, and keep in mind that going to therapy, getting help for yourself, taking care of yourself in and of itself is an act of self-love. All right, that's it, let's go. The first step in this process is the preparation, and for preparation, I'm going to have you write 2 lists. They're pretty simple prompts, but I want you to take your time with them. Meditate on them, journal about them, sleep on them if you have to. Like I said, self-love is a long-term goal. It is an ongoing process, so there is absolutely no need to rush this step. You might also find parts of this a little bit difficult, but you're just going to have to be really brutally honest with yourself and yet also not dwell and not beat yourself up. It's a balancing act. You will be creating lists about both the goods and the bads about yourself. So please be honest, but be gentle. And it's okay if something appears on both lists. On one list, I might say, hey, I'm a hard worker and I'm really proud of that. And on the other list, I might write that I'm a workaholic. Both are technically true. The workaholicism is really just taking the hard work to the extreme. And while hard work is great, being a workaholic is not, because sometimes it does negatively impact both myself and my close relationships. Just because you have a good list and a bad list doesn't mean that it has to be completely binary. There might be some overlap, so don't be surprised if that comes up. Finally, like I already said, these are honest, no-nonsense lists. If you find that you are struggling to add things to one of them, like you only have one item on the bad list, come on. Or even if you're struggling to find things to put on the good list, which I hate calling them the good and bad lists, but I'll name them in just a moment. You need to stop and take a really healthy look at yourself to truly view all of the good and all of the bad. View both of those things, because nobody is completely perfect and nobody is a total loss either. First, let's cover the positives list. This should be the fun list, hopefully. For your rough draft, just write out a list of all of your positive qualities. Now, this is going to be a mix of mental, emotional, physical, social, skill-based, whatever you can think of. Hopefully the first several will just pop right into your mind, and you'll just be able to write a bunch of stuff down. But at a certain point, you might hit a sticking point, and that's completely fine. I want you to also think about what are the qualities about you that people comment on a lot, that people people compliment a lot. And they should be included whether you agree with them, whether you disagree with them, or whether you sometimes agree and you sometimes don't. Because if more than one person has complimented you on something and you don't agree with that compliment, I mean, it's more than one person. It's really likely that they're seeing something that you're not. Once you have your rough draft completed, you are going to split all of these items into 2 categories for your final draft. Category 1 is going to be the things that you don't quite see in yourself, or you feel like you have that quality sometimes, but not all the time. The ones that people complimented you on and you completely disagreed with. The ones that you really had to dig for. Category 2 is going to be the things that popped into your head easily, the things that you absolutely know to be true. The reason we're organizing them that way is because those category 1s are the ones that we want this spell to help you open your eyes to more, to help you see in yourself the way that others see it. And also, in effect, the category 2, it will just help you keep those present in your mind more often. Second, I want you to list each of these items in an I statement. I am, I have, I can, I make, I try, I insert verb. You should also try to be specific. Instead of saying I am kind, say I am kind to people and animals. Instead of just a general I am talented to group a bunch of things together, break them apart. I am a talented singer. I am a talented dog trainer. I am a talented math student. I don't know. Whatever it is you're talented at, don't group them into one thing, because you should be able to celebrate all of those things separately. Finally, make sure it's on a fresh sheet of paper. So once you've written all of your I statements in categories 1 or 2 on your fresh sheet of paper, you are finished with the final draft of your positives list. Now we're going to move on to the acceptance list. See, it's not all negative, but whew, boy, okay, this one is a little bit more difficult because this is going to be a list of your flaws and the things that you don't like about yourself. Once again, I want you to write this list as if you are an objective outsider. Or another great way to approach this is to act as if you are sitting down with a close friend and just giving them a little talk. You know, you're just being honest with them and saying, hey, like, I love you, but there's this thing that you do sometimes that affects me, or I see it harms you, or whatever. I think we've all had to have those kind of tough love moments with our friends. We are tactful and kind and loving, but honest. If you find that you are starting to punish yourself, you are getting very emotionally upset while you're doing this, or you start spiraling in your thoughts and dwelling on certain things, just take a break. Just step away. Like I said, there's no need to rush this process. And also, you can always go back and read your other list. That is your list of positives. That's kind of why I had you write it first. And again, yes, you can use things that other people have said about you, whether you agree with them or not. Just again, don't allow yourself to get trapped into the memory of somebody telling you something negative. And also, pick through the weeds. You need to stop and realize, like, what was just an insult or somebody just not understanding who you were, and what was something that was a true critique. Obviously, if you were in a crappy relationship with somebody who kept telling you you were stupid, most likely you probably weren't stupid, they just sound abusive. But if you've had multiple people coming up to you and saying, hey, sometimes when you're really blunt like that, it's really disrespectful and hurtful, then yeah, that might be accurate. But that's okay. If you identify those things, they can be improved upon later. And again, it could be about the way you socialize with people, the way you treat other people, the way you view the world, the way your thought patterns work, your emotions, your physical self. You can also include mistakes you've made in the past, things that you regret having done or not done. Don't limit yourself, but again, please don't beat yourself up over this. This is not meant to be a punishment. This is not meant to be a negative thing. It is going to help you in the long run. Just hang in there for now. We'll get to that part. When you finish your rough draft, I want you to look down the list and cross off anything that can realistically be fixed with a little bit of effort. When I say that, I don't mean something that could be fixed if you had $20,000 to invest in plastic surgery, because for most people that isn't realistic. I mean, if there are things that you could improve in time with some therapy, with some shadow work, with some journaling, with talking it through with friends and seeing what behaviors you need to work on, with having a little more patience, being more cautious about the way that you phrase things, and so on. Cross those things off. They will not be on your final draft. I will touch back on those in just a moment though. I do want to say that some things might be a bit of both, and that's okay. You just have to figure out where they split off. Myself, as an example, I could write on that list and say, my anxiety causes me to self-isolate and to alienate and ignore my friends, which is hurtful to them. Okay, I can work on the way that I react to my anxiety. I can improve upon how I treat other people when my anxiety is affecting me. I can go to therapy and work on not isolating myself and not ignoring my friends. You know, that is something I can work on. That will not go on the list. However, generalized anxiety disorder, which I have, is not curable. It's treatable, but it's not curable. That's a permanent one. It cannot realistically be fixed with a little bit of effort, so that will be on my final draft. So a side note, those things that we listed that could reasonably be altered with a little bit of effort and time, while those will not be included in the spell, because remember, this is a self-acceptance spell, self-love spell, not a self-improvement spell. But it doesn't hurt to keep that list on hand as long as you're not going to obsessively look at it and hate on yourself for those things, but use it as a starting template to begin brainstorming ideas of how you could start fixing these behaviors or these, flaws or what have you, and start coming up with a separate plan of attack. Yes, I do believe that in trying to improve yourself is an aspect of self-love, but again, this spell is more about acceptance than improvement. So I encourage you to work on that, but again, it's not really part of this process. Okay, back to your acceptance list. Now that you have crossed off all those items that could be reasonably adjusted with time and effort and work, you are going to create your final draft on a fresh sheet of paper once again. For this final draft, you are going to start every sentence with the words, I accept. As I mentioned before, I accept that I have generalized anxiety disorder. If you included any regrets and mistakes that you made in the past, I would include them in your final draft, because although in some cases, certain things, it's like, okay, I didn't do this back then, but you know what? I can do it now. And that's wonderful. I encourage you to do that. You can't go back in time and change what you did then. So I would still include those on the final draft as things that you cannot reasonably fix. Hopefully with writing at that final draft, you see why this plays an important role in this spell of self-love, because you are going to try to learn to accept the things about yourself that maybe you don't like, but you know what? That's okay. We can learn to accept them anyway. All right, let's do the spell. As always with these spells, make sure to make it your own. Feel free to edit things, change the incantation, cut the incantation if you want, improvise it, change out the ingredients or the color correspondences, use your own correspondences. This is just a template. I am going to tell you the ingredients that I'm using, but I'm just using them as examples. It is not absolute. You should definitely make this your own, especially because you really want to make this spell very specific for you. So your list of ingredients are going to include one candle that you can carve into. I'm going to use a pink candle. Some other good options are red or white, but again, do your thing. You also want an anointing oil. I'm going to use a flower petal oil that I made with my coven friends, and we charged them in the midsummer sun. There is a lot of correspondences in that really work for this spell. Another good one is rose oil. Again, you do you. Next are any items that you want to add in for your candle dressing, so herbs, spices, that sort of thing. I'm going to be using crushed up dried rose petals, as well as bee pollen for friendship, because I'm working on a friendship with myself. And finally, lavender for general positivity and calm, peace, self-soothing type of thing. And finally, both of your final drafts of your lists. Then this is optional. I'm going to be setting next to my candle a rose quartz crystal and a clear quartz crystal. These are optional because they are just supplemental. They are there to lend their energy, but they're not major ingredients. You can totally do without anything extra. But if you want to add something in there, feel free to. Just, as always, remember, don't put too many cooks in the kitchen. Wires can start kind of getting crossed, so you don't want to, put everything you have right there. You don't need it. The first thing you're going to do is lay both of your lists side by side on whatever surface you'll be using for your spell work. Place your candle holder centered on top of them. For safety purposes, if you need to lay a sheet of tinfoil or something like that between the papers and the candle holder, that's no big deal. Next, take your candle and imagine that it has 2 horizontal lines on it, dividing the candle into thirds. On the top third, carve a symbol for strength or acceptance. I'm going to use the rune Hagalaz for this. You might consider carving a lion's head, a dove, a self-made sigil. Again, make this your own. You don't have to do exactly what I do. Whatever symbolizes strength and acceptance to you, use that. This section will empower you to accept the flaws you cannot change. In the middle third of the candle, carve a symbol for attention, awakening, opening your eyes to, or shining a light on, revelation sort of thing. I'm going to use a sun with an open eye in the center. This section of the candle will help you to see the positives that others see in you and maintain awareness of all of your good qualities. On the bottom third of the candle, carve a symbol of self-love. Something simple is fine. I'm just going to do a heart with my initials inside. After that, dress your candle. Start by anointing it with your oil. Remember, these are things that you are bringing to you. You are manifesting. So you are going to start at the top of the candle and rub it down toward yourself. Once that's coated, roll it in your herbs, spices, etc., and place it in the candle holder. Then light your candle. Envision the light of the flame expanding until it envelops you. Let the flame and the warmth from it soothe you. Allow the light to seep into your heart, and your heart opens. It warms and it opens. It's readying itself to accept you as you are. With the warmth and the light, feel peace and satisfaction wash over you. And now I want you to visualize a few things. What would it be like to love yourself as you are? How would your reaction to your appearance in the mirror change? Would you sleep better? Would you take more risks to find success in your life? Would rejection or failure scare you anymore, or would you accept it gracefully and move on to the next attempt? What would you feel free to do if you had more confidence and cared for yourself more? Open your eyes and recite this incantation. Again, you can edit it, you can improvise it, you can do whatever you want with it. You can internalize it, whatever you choose to do. If you're able to memorize it, I want you to focus on the flame. And if not, no worries. You can read it off of a piece of paper. I let go of self-consciousness. I let go of self-doubt. I let go of self-hatred. I grant myself the strength to accept what I cannot control. I grant myself the wisdom to see past my flaws. I grant myself the vision to see the best in myself. As I will it, so it shall be. After that, you're essentially done. Just allow your candle to burn all the way until it extinguishes itself, and store your lists in a safe space. Now let's move on to the maintenance part of the process. Self-love is an ongoing venture, and you can't just do one spell and then expect that, you're good for the rest of your life and you're always gonna have confidence and feel good about yourself and love every choice that you make and everything you do and all of your behaviors. It just doesn't work that way. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do this spell over and over and over again, although I do recommend you do it every few years because we all change over time and we find new things to like and dislike about ourselves. But for now, like I mentioned, keep your lists around. You might need them from time to time to help uplift yourself or just for general contemplation. But use them as a tool overall to help you better the way that you think about yourself. If you ever find that you are beating yourself up about something, well, ask yourself again, what about that can I realistically change? Because if it's something outside of your control, then you need to learn to accept it, which I know that's easier said than done. But if it's something within your control, well, great, you're one step closer to figuring out how to fix it. From now on, you should start attempting to rephrase these thoughts in your mind in that way. Either I accept it or I will change it. I also encourage you, if you don't already, make sure to spend time with yourself. Preferably daily, but if that's not manageable, then weekly is fine. Even monthly is better than nothing. And I mean only with yourself, no other people. Turn off the podcasts, turn off the TV, the radio, the music. Be alone with your thoughts. Be alone with yourself. Go for a walk. Meditate. Take a bath. Eat a meal by yourself. Do some yoga, a journaling session. It's really whatever you like that you can do on your own and really be in your head. The point of this is to, one, treat yourself to a relaxing or fun activity that you enjoy, but it's also to allow yourself some time with yourself, in your own head, with your own thoughts, with no outside distractions. If you start to find your thoughts veering into negative territory, whether it's a negative thought about yourself or about anything else, just pull yourself back into the present moment. Focus on what it is you're doing. If you're out for a walk, bring your focus back inward, but also outward. So feel your body moving forward. Feel the breeze against your skin, but look at the world around you. Look at the trees, look at the ground, look at the sky. Take a deep breath of fresh air. What are you smelling around you? What noises are you hearing? Bring yourself back to the present. One thing that you can also do to help you with negative thoughts in general, both to help you catch them as soon as they pop into your mind, stop the spiral in its tracks, and just push it away and let it go. Focus back in on the present. One thing that can really help you do this is practicing daily meditation. But then again, when don't I recommend that? There are obviously a lot of activities that you can do on an ongoing basis to help you on your self-love journey. If you have recommendations, I would love it if you would list them in the comments below. I just wanted to keep this kind of simple, something that's easier to do and easier to maintain, something you don't need tools for. You can just start meditating, start spending more time with yourself, start journaling, and start that process of changing the way you phrase your thoughts about yourself. Those are all, well, I said simpler. They are simple in that they don't take a lot of time. They don't require you spending money on items or tools or experiences or a professional anything. You just can do that within yourself on your own. But this isn't a comprehensive list. I'm not trying to say that this is the cure, this is something that will help, but there is more out there if you're interested in looking into more. And like I said, if you have self-love routines or activities that you personally enjoy that you feel like has really improved your relationship with yourself, please drop them in the comments below. I would love having a big list of resources that people can kind of refer to, and hell, I'll refer to some of them too. If you want to keep the ball rolling and you would like to do a self-empowerment spell to boost your self-esteem, boost your confidence, make you feel like the best version of yourself, I highly recommend this video right here.